In 1929, the American stock market crashed in what became known as the Great Depression. Millions lost their jobs overnight, and bread lines stretched for blocks in every major city. Thousands of banks shut down. Homelessness and hunger became everyday scenes. It wasn't just a financial collapse. It was a global earthquake that shook the foundation of society. But like all earthquakes, there were those who saw it coming and prepared in advance. Take, for example, the wealthy industrialist Andrew Carnegie. When Carnegie was at the height of his wealth and power, he knew that one day it would all come crashing down. So he set aside a fortune to be used in the event of an economic downturn. And when the crash did happen, he used that money to buy up huge swaths of land and industry at fire sale prices. Or take the legendary investor Warren Buffett, who, despite having made his initial fortune in the stock market, predicted its eventual collapse and spent the 1930s buying up undervalued companies in preparation for the coming storm. Then there was John Maynard Keynes, the brilliant economist who, after seeing the devastation wrought by the First World War, resolved to dedicate his life to preventing another such catastrophe. And so he spent the 1920s traveling the world, meeting with leaders and policymakers, warning them of the dangers of unbridled capitalism and urging them to take steps to ensure a more equitable distribution of wealth. These are just a few examples of the many people who saw the storm clouds on the horizon and took steps to protect themselves and their families. But for most people, the Great Depression came as a complete surprise. They had never experienced anything like it before, and they didn't know what to do. Take, for example, the family of Jesse Owens. Owens was an African-American track star who won for gold medals at the 1936 Berlin Olympics. But despite his fame and success, he and his family struggled throughout the Depression. His father lost his job, and his mother had to take in laundry to make ends meet. Even Jesse himself, who was studying at Ohio State University, had to leave school early because the family needed him to start working. The Great Depression was a time of great hardship and suffering, but it was also a time of great courage and resilience. It was a time when ordinary people were forced to make extraordinary sacrifices, and when those sacrifices often went unrecognized and unappreciated. It was a time when the world seemed to be falling apart, but when the human spirit refused to give up. It was a time when people had to rely on each other for survival, and they did so without complaint or resentment. Today, we remember the Great Depression not only as a time of great suffering, but also as a time of great heroism. We remember it as a time when people came together and helped each other through the hard times. We remember it as a time when the foundations of our society were tested and ultimately upheld. I'm your host. Thanks for watching.